Hello everyone and welcome back to the 3T Path channel. Welcome back to our Uddhava-gita course. So we're doing this wonderful chapter where Krishna is describing the power of jnana yoga, the path of knowledge, the power of understanding things, and also of explaining what things actually work. And in this class, we're going to get to the section where Krishna is going to explain 15 practices to fully achieve Him. And before that, though, we'll be going over an interesting, important concept of Indic philosophy in general, which is the basis for their epistemology. So let's start with that verse. We're in the 11th Canto, 19th chapter, verse 17. Oh, and by the way, if you want to watch all the previous classes, all you have to do is become a member of this channel, and the instructions are here in the description of the video. And then check out Uddhava-gita.com, where you can see the whole course. We're well into over 100 classes already in this course. So, verse 17. So Krishna's finishing. Remember, he was describing to Uddhava what Bhishma had told Yudhishthira at Battle of Kurukshetra at the end, when he's all full of arrows and he's lying on a bed of arrows because the arrows are just like gone through his whole body, and he's lying there waiting for his moment of death because he could choose when he wanted to die. And so this is the ending of that instruction. So from the 4 types of evidence, Vedic knowledge, direct experience, traditional wisdom, and logical induction, one can understand the temporary, insubstantial situation of the material world, by which one becomes detached from the duality of this world. So a couple of very important points here. First, the basis. Normally, the question is, epistemology is, how do you know you know? It's the study of knowledge. Like, how do you know you know? How do you get to that point? So traditionally, it's just 3 things. Here Krishna added a 4th one, but 2 of them you'll see kind of join up to be the same thing. So the first one, Vedic knowledge, and then the 3rd one, traditional wisdom, they kind of join into one thing traditionally. They're just called Shabda, just like revealed scriptures. Because how can you know? For example, how can we know anything about Krishna? You could examine the whole universe. You could go around the whole universe with, magnifying, glasses and microscope or telescope, whatever you want, thermometer, any device you want, and you're not going to find Krishna because he's not going to be found through those means. So you need revealed scripture. You need information. How do we know all these? How do we know the soul is eternal, is a person, God, nature, God? You have to get these things, have to come down. This is knowledge that has to come down. That's why you have the term avatara, he who comes down, who crosses down. The avatara is crossing down, bringing knowledge down to us. Otherwise, we wouldn't have that knowledge. It would be impossible. You just wouldn't know it. It's just not available here. So, Vedic knowledge and traditional wisdom, the idea is some things just have to be revealed by an expert who knows the subject. And of course, we get our knowledge directly from Krishna. This is one of the nice things of this tradition. We're learning directly from Krishna, God Himself, the very source of all sources. We're learning from Bhagavad-gita, Uddhava-gita. We're getting this knowledge directly, and that's why it's so perfect. It's so nice. It feels so good. It makes so much sense because it's just pure knowledge coming directly from the source of all sources, Krishna Himself. So this knowledge, of course, is a type of evidence. So you say, oh, how do you know? I say, well, because Krishna said so in Bhagavad Gita. And that's it. That's how you prove it. Like, oh, I don't believe it. Well, that's your problem. But that's the source of evidence for us. And if you don't accept that, what's your source of evidence for these topics? Oh, no, I don't accept any. Okay, well, that's your choice. And does that make sense? So then it goes on to the other thing here, logical induction. So does it make sense? Like, you figure things out, like use reason. Like, what's consciousness? If you don't want to take knowledge of the soul from Bhagavad Gita, from Uddhava-gita, but how do you know what consciousness is? How do you study this? I mean, in science, like, what is consciousness? Does it go between bodies? Does the mind go beyond the cranium? Like, how do you get knowledge? Is there God? How do you discuss these things? So, would it make sense that if there were God, God would come and reveal the knowledge to us? Yes, that makes sense. So it's a reasonable statement to say that consciousness is not something we can put our fingers to. It's not something, it's very different from everything else. Consciousness is completely different from energy, from things, from, biological mechanisms. It's completely different. It's just like this other thing. So what is this other thing? It's reasonable to assume that it's actually something else completely different. And so, you can use reason, you can use that together. And then so the fourth thing not mentioned here is direct experience. So that's like, okay, direct experience. That's what science likes to use. Science uses both direct experience and, of course, reasoning. But we just add the third one, which is, Shabda, which is revealed knowledge or knowledge coming from Vedic knowledge or traditional wisdom. Krishna is translated here. So that's the way, we just add that other one. But direct experience and reasoning, that nobody can deny that those are sources of knowledge, right? For example, everybody who's been born before has died. So it's natural to assume that everybody who's alive today will die as well. That's just reasoning, right? And the sun rose today in the east, and it's been rising in the east since forever. So it's, like tomorrow, it's going to rise in the east again. So that's just reasoning. It's not, you don't have direct experience because it's something, but you can just say, yeah, look, it's been happening like this, so it's going to happen like this tomorrow as well. So that's just reasoning. So we use these three things: Shabda, reasoning, and direct experience. And the beautiful thing about this path of Krishna consciousness, path of yoga, is that you'll get all three. You'll get the direct experience. Krishna uses this very same word, pratyaksha. This very direct experience, this exact same word here, pratyaksha, is used in Bhagavad-gita. Krishna says, you will have pratyaksha with the spiritual path, he says. This king of knowledge, Raja Vidyam, this king of secrets, Raja Guhyam, he says right in the beginning of chapter 9, you will get pratyaksham, you will have direct experience, and that's exactly what it is. When you practice this, when you follow the recommendations, you get the direct experience. So you feel, you perceive Krishna, you can perceive soul, you can have direct experience of these things. So we get pratyaksha, reasoning, Anuman, it just makes sense. Everything just fits in so nicely. We have explanations for everything. We can explain all the phenomena in the world, and everything just fits right in. There's nothing strange. There's nothing like, oh, that doesn't make sense. Everything is beautiful. This philosophy is so perfect. Everything just fits in so beautifully. So we have that, and of course, Shabda. We have here Krishna speaking directly. So we get all three when we present this path. Okay, so from the four types, but Krishna isn't really teaching epistemology here. He's just saying, look, from all the evidence, what can you conclude from all the evidence? From all the evidence, you can conclude that this is a temporary, insubstantial situation. And this is what Jnana Yoga, that's, the purpose, understand that all this material life is temporary and insubstantial. And thus, one should become detached from the duality of the world because it is temporary and insubstantial. What does that mean? It means that what's behind it? Is it the ultimate thing? Is matter the ultimate thing? No, there's consciousness, there's something else going on. So that's the idea. Purport. In the Shruti or Vedic literature, it is clearly stated that everything emanates from the Absolute Truth, is maintained by the Absolute Truth, and at the end is conserved within the Absolute Truth. Similarly, by direct experience, we can observe the creation and destruction of great empires, cities, buildings, bodies, and so on. Furthermore, we find around the world traditional wisdom warning people that things in this world cannot last. Finally, by logical induction, we can easily conclude that nothing in this world is permanent. Material sense gratification up to the highest possible living standard found in the heavenly planets, or down to the lowest conditions in the most repugnant precincts of hell, is always unsteady and prone to collapse at any moment. One should therefore develop vairagya, detachment, as stated here. Another meaning of this verse is that the four types of evidence cited here are often mutually contradictory in their description of the highest truth. One should therefore be detached from the duality of mundane evidence, including the portions of the Vedas that deal with the material world. Instead, one should accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the actual authority. Both in Bhagavad-gita and here in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Krishna is personally speaking. And thus there is no need to enter into the bewildering network of competing systems of mundane logic. One can directly hear from the Absolute Truth Himself and immediately acquire perfect knowledge. One thereby becomes detached from inferior systems of knowledge, which cause one to hover on the material mental platform. Very nice. Okay, verse 18. An intelligent person should see that any material activity is subject to constant transformation, and that even on the planet of Lord Brahma, there is thus simply unhappiness. Indeed, a wise man can understand that just as all that he has seen is temporary, similarly, all things within the universe have a beginning and an end. And this is like a basic idea of why you should seek transcendence. The basic idea is like you are consciousness. You always exist. You've existed in the past since forever, and you will exist into the future since forever. But everything else is temporary, and you can perceive that through all these types of evidence. So because it's temporary, how can you make your home here? How can you become satisfied here? It's not going to work. You're going to be unhappy because things stop, things decay, things cease to be. Right? This is what makes us unhappy. Like your body starts decaying. You had something, it was working, and it stops working. Your eyes, your arms, your ears, they stop working. So now they're not anymore. The house, build your house, it's new, and then it starts falling apart. Immediately, it starts falling apart. And cities, and countries, and empires, and businesses, and everything is just in this constant flux. So this is very stressful. So we don't want that. We want a permanent situation, and that's what we get with spiritual life. Purport. The word adrishtam indicates the heavenly standards of life available in the higher planets within this universe. Such celestial neighborhoods are not actually experienced on the earth planet, although they are described in the Vedic literatures. One may argue that promotion to material heaven is recommended in the Karma Kanda portion of the Vedas, and that although the happiness available there is not eternal, at least for some time one may enjoy life. Lord Krishna here states, however, that even on the planet of Lord Brahma, the highest planet in the universe, which is superior to the heavenly planets, there is no happiness whatsoever. Even in the upper planetary systems, there is rivalry, envy, irritation, lamentation, and ultimately death itself. Can't escape those things. Okay, now, verse 19. O sinless Uddhava, this is beautiful. Because you love me, I love this line. O sinless Uddhava, because you love me, I previously explained to you the process of bhakti, of devotional service, Bhakti-yoga. Now, I will again explain the supreme process for achieving bhakti onto me. So this is very nice. So now, change of gears. We did the knowledge. Jnana, what does jnana get you? Jnana gets you to this point of understanding that the world is temporary. There's no happiness. There's nothing stable, because of that, there's always irritation, death, suffering, anxiety, and death. So this isn't the place for you. So that's what jnana gets you. But then we want to go beyond jnana. What's beyond jnana? Bhakti. We want love. And it starts beautifully. Because you love me, I explain to you bhakti. But now I'm going to explain to you Bhakti-yoga. Again, Krishna says. Very nice. Purport. Although Lord Krishna previously described Bhakti-yoga to Sri Uddhava, Uddhava is not yet satisfied because he loves Lord Krishna. Anyone who loves the Lord cannot be fully satiated by discussions of bhakti, mixed with descriptions of mere Vedic duties and analytic philosophy. The supreme stage of conscious existence is pure love of Krishna. And one who is addicted to Lord Krishna desires to constantly drink the nectar of such topics. Lord Krishna has given an extensive survey of many aspects of human civilization, including the Varnashrama Dharma. Remember, we did that huge section, 2 whole chapters on the Varnashrama system. And the process of distinguishing between matter and spirit, renouncing sense gratification, and so forth. Now, Uddhava is hankering to hear specifically about bhakti, pure devotional service to Lord Krishna, and the Lord thus turns to that topic. Okay, so now, check this out. Now we're going to do what it says in the title of the class. We're going to see the 15 things Krishna describes here to Uddhava. So, here's the list. Firm faith in the blissful narrations of my pastimes. Constant chanting of my glories. Unwavering attachment to ceremonial worship of me. Praising me through beautiful hymns. Great respect for my devotional service. Offering obeisances with the entire body. Performing first-class worship of my devotees. Consciousness of me in all living entities. Offering of ordinary bodily activities in my devotional service. Use of words to describe my qualities. Offering the mind to me. Rejection of all material desires. Giving up wealth for my devotional service. Renouncing material sense gratification and happiness. And performing all desirable activities such as charity, sacrifice, chanting, vows, and austerities with the purpose of achieving me. These constitute actual dharmic principles by which those human beings who have actually surrendered themselves to me automatically develop love for me. What other purpose or goal could remain for my devotee? So we're going to take our time going over this list a little bit, but this is a beautiful list. Very bhakti. This is pure bhakti. This is how you just work on bhakti. And bhakti is the highest thing. We can start at the bottom. What other purpose or goal could remain for my devotee? What else would you possibly want? All we want is love, because love is the best, right? Love is the best thing. Love is the highest state of consciousness. We are consciousness. You're not your body, but you are consciousness. And what's the best thing for consciousness? Love. So love is the highest expression of being, of existence, of the soul, of God. It's all about love. So that's what we want. So we want love. So how do we develop love? That's going to be the question. We have the jnana. We have the jnana. You have to get the jnana to open the doors. We have all these other things. They open the door to love. So you have to have knowledge. You have to understand that this world is temporary, that you're not your body. You have to know all these wonderful things you have to understand. This analytic philosophy. It's important. But once you figure that out, what are you going to do? Love. So bhakti is the end goal. That's why Krishna says in Bhagavad-gita, no other yogi is higher than the bhakti yogi. Because that's the highest form of yoga. Why? Because that just keeps going. The other forms of yoga get you out of the material world. They remove suffering from your life. Wonderful. And we certainly want that as well. We get all those benefits as well. We get all that. But then what? We want more. We're greedy. We want more. We want bliss. We want love. So this is the highest thing. So check this out. Let's see how we can achieve the highest goal. So the first item on the list, firm faith in the blissful narrations of my pastimes. Now this is very important because katha, the narrations, the stories, this is actually the highest, that's why it's number one on the list. Traditionally and effectively, you can experience this in your life. I have experienced this in my life. It is the most important thing. To be able to absorb your mind in Krishna Katha. You want to hear about Krishna. You want to understand what it's like to be with Krishna, what Krishna is like, what the interactions of those pure, perfect devotees are with Krishna, so you can copy that, you can emulate that process, you can understand the relationships, the different types of relationships. And of course, for us, the greatest focus is Vrindavan. We want to focus our minds in the sweet leelas of Krishna in Vrindavan, where we have the full range, the deepest mellows, the deepest rasas is the term in Sanskrit. The deepest types of love for Krishna are all shown in the beginning of chapter of the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, where you have Krishna's life in Vrindavan. So we want to see all those details. We want to really understand it. We want to take that all in. You want to have enough contact with it so that it's absolutely part of you. It becomes a part of you. And this is what all these great sages, these great Krishna bhaktas did in the past. They would absorb this, they would hear it over and over and over again so that it's completely natural. They completely understand all these things. And then when you do that, like I always explain here, this knowledge is like a password. It unlocks pratyaksha. You get direct experience. That's what I always say. You will then get this direct. You will feel that. You'll start, then you'll know what your rasa is. What's your relationship with Krishna? Because those different devotees, each different soul has a different kind of relationship with Krishna. We're all not all the same. It's variety. Variety is the mother of, of pleasure. So you have to have all this variety. And Krishna has all this. So he has people loving him as his parents, people loving him as his lovers, as his friends, as his servants, in a neutral form. All these different types of love. And what's your rasa? You'll know as you progress, as you purify your mind, as you absorb your mind in these things, then it becomes revealed, and then you start experiencing it yourself. So, firm faith in the blissful, in Krishna Katha, that's the determined. So just absorb yourself in Krishna Katha, very important. Of course, these instructions are also Krishna Katha, so this is also very nice, but especially do focus on his activities, especially in Vrindavan. Understand the Lord's activities, the relationships. Absorb your mind in the mood, the emotions. It's all about emotions. Absorb your mind in those emotions because they will unlock your access to them as well. Okay. 2, chanting of my glories. So just kirtan, chanting of Krishna's glories, speaking about him, like we're doing here, reading, talking, kirtan, just these things are, so it's shravanam, kirtanam, absorbing, speaking. This is always top of the list. Shravanam, absorb the knowledge, absorb the holy names, absorb the stories of Krishna. Kirtan, you speak them, share them, get them out there somehow. So Shravanam, Kirtanam, Shravanam, Kirtanam. These two are supremely powerful processes. Those are just the first two. 3, unwavering attachment to ceremonial worship of me. So having a deity at home, having an altar, and having this unwavering attachment to a ceremonial worship. So we have the feeling, rasana, but we also do just the ceremonial worship where everything is just like, you do like a little order, things have a sequence. It's ceremonial. It's not just like, oh, what I'm feeling. It's not like that. It's ceremonial. So you do that. I've been doing it since the last century. Every day, without fail, I'm doing it. Unless I'm traveling, of course, away from my deities. But if I'm there, my deities are there, I'm there, there is a ceremonial worship of the deity. Done the exact same way, usually at the same time of the day. It doesn't have to be like down to the minute. You can if you want, but just, and you get this and you do that and you just follow the sequence. It's very nice. It's very powerful. Having an altar at home is very powerful. I highly recommend you do that. Once you get a little more serious, highly recommend you do that. Have that altar at home. It just draws your attention constantly to Krishna. You're always focused there. Very important. And of course, if temples as well, it is, you can go to a temple and see it, but it's better to do it at home because you're not going to go to the temple every single day probably. In some communities, you can do that and you'll see people doing that, but it's not really so practical in modern cities where everything's so far away and there's traffic and you're so busy anyway. So having it at home is very nice. So that was 3. Praising me through beautiful hymns. So that's very nice. We have these beautiful hymns with beautiful verses, and then you can praise Krishna using these beautiful hymns. 5, great respect for my devotional service. So just understanding that this is the highest thing, having great respect for bhakti. Understanding that bhakti is supreme. Some people foolishly deride bhakti. Think, oh, it's just an emotional thing. We're just like, it's more important to just, meditate and be still in this posture and this asana. No, it's love. It's the highest thing. So having great respect for bhakti. Offering obeisances with the entire body. So again, if you have an altar at home, it's very nice because you can then every day, like that's what I do, you can offer your obeisances with your entire body several times a day, or at least once a day, you can offer your obeisances with your entire body. That just means a full commitment. It's very nice. If you haven't done it yet, I highly recommend you do it. Just your whole body. You can do the dandavat, where you're like a stick, danda, stick. So you can offer the stick obeisances where you're fully laid down, toes. You're just a stick on the ground towards Krishna. Very nice. Full surrender. Beautiful. So obeisances with the entire body. Performing first-class worship of my devotees. So this is an important concept, which we see actually in different religious traditions, not just in this bhakti tradition, that value those people who are all devotees of Krishna. Not just Krishna, not just like, well, I don't care about anybody else, it's just Krishna. No, those devotees of Krishna, they're also very nice. So you can, perform first-class worship of my devotees. Serve them, help them with their mission. Help them in some practical manner, or just be nice, or just, do whatever you can, because if they are pleasing Krishna and you please someone who's pleasing Krishna, Krishna will be extra pleased. It's a simple concept. If you have children, somebody could try to please you, and that's nice. But if somebody helps your child, makes your child happy, then you're extra happy. If you have children, even if you have a dog, You're extra happy if somebody does something nice to your dog than if they try to do it to you. That's just natural. So if you have the beautiful devotee of Krishna, Krishna's happy with that devotee, you serve that devotee, Krishna's going to be extra happy with you. It's a very simple concept that really works, and you'll feel good. And it's easier because Krishna may be like, you don't get it. It's like, oh, Krishna, I haven't really... But the devotee is right there in front of you. He's sharing this material reality with you. He's incarnated there with you. So it's easy for you to just serve. How can I help? What can I do? What would please you? Most Krishna devotees, because they're focused in the blissful narrations of Krishna, chanting his glories, because they're focused in Shravanam Kirtan, they will usually tell you, help me with my Shravana Kirtanam. Share my work. Help me share my work. So that's what, devotees have been asking for generations now. My spiritual master and the spiritual master, my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, all we're asking, and Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master before that, all they're asking is, please just help me share the message. Click the share button. Invite other people. That's all you have to do these days. It's so easy, just like click a share button. Before you'd have to go there and get a book, but just tell people about it. Just invite people. Just or produce your own work. Or if you're more advanced and you feel like, look, I want to share this stuff too. So do your own work. I encourage you. You become a guru. Share. So that's what most devotees want you to do, and that's how you can perform first-class worship of Krishna's devotees. Okay, next item, consciousness of me in all living entities. So we spoke about this. We always see this over and over again. Consciousness of me in all living entities. Very important concept. Yet you see Krishna. He talks about this in Bhagavad-gita and in Uddhava-gita. Bhagavatam's all over the place. See Krishna in every one. You have soul and super soul. See that super soul Krishna is there in every living entity. Okay, I'm actually going to stop here. I'm going to stop here, and we're going to continue in the next class because it's such a beautiful list, and we want to make sure we give it proper attention. So I gave you just the explanation of some of them. We'll go into more detail in the next class if Krishna permits us, and then we'll read also the whole purport. So let's stop here for now. Have the rest of your day with lots of peace and lots of knowledge. Hare Krishna.